Where are you right now? I asked while watching a baseball game with my brother. At that moment, I knew my husband had been lying. His brother wasn't in any shape to enjoy a baseball game. Realizing this, I resolved to seek revenge, and I found unexpected allies. I'm Sarah, 27 years old and a nurse at a university hospital. All jobs are demanding, but nursing involves unique responsibility, as it's about people's well-being. While I'm not performing surgeries, the care and small treatments I give carry their own weight. In elementary school, I was hospitalized for a serious illness. Despite my young age, I felt immense anxiety, often crying when my parents couldn't visit because of work. However, the nurse who cared for me gave me hope. Sarah, don't be afraid to express your feelings. It will get better, just hang in there a little longer, she would say. Her compassion helped me through those lonely days. After I was discharged, I admired her so much that I decided to become a nurse. I studied hard to achieve that dream, and now I've been a nurse for 5 years. It's a tough job, but every time a patient smiles, I feel fulfilled. I'm grateful for my career, and one of the reasons is my husband, Bob, whom I married a year ago. I met Bob at a party, and our shared interests made us click instantly. We began dating, and 2 years later, he proposed. Sarah, I admire your dedication to everything you do. I want to spend my life with you, he said. Are you sure? I asked, feeling both thrilled and uncertain. Of course I am. I love you, Sarah. So, will you marry me? He replied. Yes, I'd love to, I said, and we were married a year ago. But there was something that kept bothering me. Bob didn't get along with his parents. Ideally, we would have had a wedding ceremony, but he refused. He didn't want his parents involved. When we visited them to announce our marriage, it was difficult to even set a date. Bob was in a sour mood, and we only stayed for about 30 minutes. Our marriage proceeded with minimal interaction with my in-laws. I really wanted my in-laws to come to our wedding ceremony, so I decided to express my feelings honestly. Bob, can we talk for a bit? I asked. Sure, what's on your mind? He responded. It's about your parents. Since we're planning the ceremony, I think we should go see them and talk about it, I suggested. Bob sighed deeply, visibly annoyed. Didn't I tell you I don't want to discuss my parents? I'm fine not inviting anyone from my family. But don't you think we should invite them? I asked. If you want family there, we could invite my brother. Wouldn't that be enough? I'd love to have your brother there, but you're being relentless. Sarah, this is my family's matter. I'd appreciate it if you didn't interfere, he said, leaving the room. Sitting alone on the couch, I stared at the ceiling, feeling hollow. It hurt that we were estranged from my in-laws. They were kind people, and I wanted them to be part of our celebration. But what could I do to change Bob's mind? No matter how many times I tried to bring it up, Bob refused to see his parents. Eventually, just mentioning them made him angry. One evening, my brother-in-law and his wife visited our apartment. We'd had dinner with them when we first announced our marriage, but this was their first time visiting us since the wedding. Around 10 p.m., the doorbell rang. When I opened it, I found my brother-in-law, Jake, and his wife, Emily, standing there. Hello, Jake. It's been a while, I said. Jake grinned warmly. Hi, Sarah. Sorry for the unannounced visit. I hope it's okay. Oh, of course. Bob is inside. Come on in, I replied. Thanks. Here we come, said Jake as he stepped inside. Emily slipped off her shoes and greeted us, though she got no response. Did she not hear me? Wondered Emily. She hadn't said much last time we met, either. I hoped we could become closer friends. As we enjoyed some casual chatter over cake, the atmosphere grew light. Deciding to have lunch together, I went to start preparing. While I was setting up, my brother-in-law entered the kitchen. Sarah, I heard from Mom and Dad. They haven't seen Bob since you both got married, he said. Yes, it's been hard. Bob doesn't get along well with Dad, I explained. Jake sighed, nodding in understanding. I know it's difficult. I wish he'd come around. As Jake pondered, he gave me an apologetic look. I'm sorry, Sarah. Bob's so stubborn. I wish there was something. I'm sorry for causing you trouble, Jake, I said. No, Sarah. If anything, I'm sorry I haven't been able to help. I'll try to talk to Bob in a roundabout way, Jake offered. Really? That would mean a lot. Thank you. While Jake and I were talking, Bob and his sister-in-law, Emily, were glued to their phones, playing games and enjoying themselves. Even though I was grateful for Jake's support, I felt a pang of frustration with Bob. When Jake and Emily were about to leave, Bob's demeanor suddenly shifted as he confronted me. Did you say something to my brother? He asked with an edge in his voice. Why do you ask? I replied, unsure of his sudden suspicion. When he was leaving, Jake told me, you should think about Sarah and sort things out with our parents. You must have talked to him while making lunch, right? Did you meddle in my family issues? His gaze was colder than I'd ever seen before. Caught off guard, I felt a pang of awkwardness as I tried to explain. I didn't mean to. You know it's unfair to involve my brother in our issues with my parents, especially when I made it clear I didn't want any interference. He cut me off sharply. Honestly, I'm over this. Maybe we shouldn't bother with the wedding at all. What? I managed to gasp before he stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Bob didn't come back until the following day. From that point on, our relationship took a turn for the worse. Communication dwindled, and our once lively conversations faded into silence. As weeks passed, Bob was rarely home on weekends or holidays, and suspicion began to cloud my mind. Finally, I decided to confront him directly. You've been going out a lot lately. Where exactly have you been? Do I need to report every detail to you? He replied dismissively. Why are you being so defensive? Is there a reason you can't tell me where you go? I asked, attempting a light-hearted tone. Visibly flustered, he muttered, I've been visiting my parents. Your parents? I was taken aback. Yes, you wanted them to be involved in the wedding, remember? He said hastily. Then, shouldn't I come along too? I asked, still skeptical. No, my parents would feel awkward if you came along. That's just the situation, okay? Don't worry about it, he finished abruptly. Despite my requests, he never let me join him on his supposed visits to his parents' house. Then, one day at work, an unexpected emergency changed everything. My brother-in-law, Jake, was rushed into the ER, and I immediately recognized him. He was unresponsive and had a dangerously high temperature, likely from heat stroke. Trying to stay calm, I attempted to call his wife, Emily, but received no answer. With concern mounting, I reached out to Bob, but he also didn't answer. Desperate, I called my in-laws, despite not having much of a relationship with them. After a few rings, my mother-in-law picked up. Sarah, dear, it's been a while. How are you? Hello, Mother. I'm doing well, thank you. I'm so sorry for not visiting sooner, I replied, feeling slightly awkward. Don't worry at all, Sarah. It's good to hear from you. How's Bob doing? She asked casually. My heart skipped a beat. Wait, isn't he with you? Bob? I haven't seen him since he introduced you to us after the wedding, she said, sounding genuinely surprised. Are you sure? I thought he'd been visiting every week. Not at all. You know he doesn't get along with us. Sarah. Stunned, I felt my stomach drop. He had lied to me all along. Trying to contain my anger, I dialed Bob's number repeatedly until he finally picked up, sounding annoyed. Why are you calling so much? I'm busy, he snapped. Busy? So busy that you couldn't even see your parents? I shot back. Wait, what are you? I spoke to your mother just now, I interrupted, and she told me you haven't visited in ages. So, where are you? Really? He hesitated, clearly taken aback. I'm at a baseball game with Jake. A baseball game? Yeah, can't you hear the crowd? Jake and I are having a great time. The sounds of cheers in the background confirmed he was at a game, but that wasn't what mattered. It was his deceit, his lies stacked upon lies, holding back the fury bubbling inside. I clenched my fists, knowing that this would be the last time he'd fool me. It was time to take back control, and I'd find allies willing to help me do just that. I took a moment to think, then addressed him. Bob, are you planning to be on the call much longer? My sister-in-law, Emily, whose voice was unmistakable, responded on the other end. We'd only met recently, but I was certain it was her. When the call abruptly disconnected and left only a dial tone, The truth hit me hard, it was all a lie. I couldn't ignore this anymore. Resolute, I prepared myself to confront him. But first, I went to see Jake, who was resting peacefully now that his condition was stable. As I turned to leave his room, I heard his voice. Sarah? Jake, are you all right? I asked, concerned. Yeah, just a bit of heat exhaustion. I was so busy that I forgot to stay hydrated. Please be more careful. I was really worried when they brought you in. Sorry for the scare, but what brings you here, Sarah? Jake inquired, a bit surprised. Well, I just found out that my husband might be with Emily. Jake's expression didn't shift much, and he gave a knowing smile. So, you finally realized, Jake said with a slight grin. Wait, did you already know about this? I asked, astonished. Yes, for about a month now. I've been gathering proof. Don't worry, I have more than enough now, he assured me. I see. I'm sorry I didn't notice sooner. No need to apologize. I just wanted to wait for the right moment to tell you. Though it hurts, I think I can finally move on, he replied, sounding a bit defeated. The frustration I felt toward them both was overwhelming. Jake gave a weak chuckle, but it was clear he felt lonely too. Once Jake recovered, we decided to go to his parents' house together. We explained the entire situation to them, and for a moment, they were at a loss for words. When they grasped the reality of it, they looked genuinely apologetic and began to express regret. Sarah, we're deeply sorry for what our son did. We never imagined he'd do something like this, they said. It's okay, I don't blame you. But this is still our fault. Actually, there is one thing you could do to help me and your son, I requested. Together, Jake and I each called our spouses. Both answered, seemingly surprised to be receiving calls simultaneously. Hello, Sarah, what's up? My husband greeted me. Where are you? Are you with Emily? I demanded. What are you talking about? Why would I be with Jake's wife? He replied defensively. Because I heard her voice in the background earlier, and Jake knows everything. We have solid evidence of your affair, I retorted, anger rising. Despite the undeniable proof, he continued spinning excuses, claiming it was just a misunderstanding. Exhausted by his denials, I interrupted him sharply. Enough. Do you seriously think I'd believe this nonsense? You betrayed me in the worst way possible. I want a divorce. You lowlife. Wait, a divorce? That's not what I... Don't act surprised. After all you've done, did you really think I'd stay with you? I hope you both live to regret every single choice you made. And just so you know, your parents won't support you anymore. I hope you live a life filled with regret. I finished, hanging up before he could say another word. Afterward, Jake and I went to the city office to file for divorce. Though my husband resisted at first, his parents finally persuaded him to sign. Jake's divorce also proceeded, and we both requested substantial alimony. Later, I found out my ex-husband had been involved with Emily for quite a while, meeting up during breaks and after work. Their secret came to light when coworkers stumbled upon them, and his reputation plummeted. Unable to face the shame, he eventually left his job. Emily, who had been a homemaker, also saw her life unravel. After her divorce, she stayed with my ex-husband briefly, but they soon parted ways as their financial troubles worsened. I doubt she'll have an easy life ahead. Now, I've settled into a quiet apartment close to work, living independently and moving forward. I still stay in touch with Jake and my former in-laws. They remain important people to me, and I'll always cherish our connection. I'm committed to living a life that reflects my resilience and growth. Happiness is something I'll create for myself. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again soon. Stay tuned.